Hi guys, it's Aaliyah. Welcome back to my channel. I thought I would just turn the camera on while I was constructing the cover for my newest journal, the one that I've been showing. Let me just give you a quick preview. This one here. So I've made the actual signature. Obviously it's not sewn yet, but I've cut all the papers down to size. I've put them in order that I wanted to. And now it's time for the cover. So I thought, why not turn the camera on while I'm doing this? And actually, let me just, I think that maybe we go a little more like that. Okay, so hopefully you can see. I'm thinking this is good right here. All right, so what I did do some pre-work just so I didn't have to fumble around on camera. Basically, actually, let me just show you the different parts that I have. So I'm making the actual cover with a file folder. I've cut that to size already. And I've also cut my piece of fabric that I want to use. So I want this as the cover. Then I thought also I want something on the front of the cover, something like nice and simple. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm thinking something like that to tie it all together. So the first thing I usually do when I do the cover is I like to, am I in frame? I am. I like to kind of place this here, in this case my file folder, as close to the middle as I can get. And of course, you know, I eyeball everything. Doesn't have to be exact, but I like it to be pretty close. So for this, I mean, every time I do a cover, it's a little bit different with how I attach it and everything. But for this, because it's single signature, not a hard cover, I'm going to just use a glue stick to, maybe I'll use the glue stick, oh, there we go, to hold down the outside first. So basically, I'm just running my glue stick up and down, just covering everything. And the reason why, because some people are probably saying, oh my God, glue stick's not going to hold. You're right. If I was just using a glue stick, it absolutely probably would not hold, though I'm not 100% sure because I've never actually just done a cover with a glue stick, but my gut instinct is it might not with the fabric. But for this, I'll show you why. Because I just use the glue stick kind of to hold the material somewhat in place. Okay, like that. And then when I actually fold these in, I will use my Fabri-Tac to attach this to the cover. So it's basically, this is holding it, and then the glue stick is basically keeping this in place. If that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. Let me just glue this side. And of course, you know, if you're, well, actually, I shouldn't say. I was going to say if you're a little more nervous, like I used to be, I used to use the Fabri-Tac on this part too, and then I realized I'm wasting so much and I don't know if I actually need to do it on the side, so I stopped, and I just use the glue stick to keep it in place, and then I use the Fabri-Tac to actually do the everything else, because Fabri-Tac is actually pretty expensive, and I don't have a budget to just, you know, kind of blow through. All right, so that is on. That is on. And now what I want to do is I am going to, can you see what I'm doing? I like to fold up the corners. I know some people miter the corners where they kind of like take off a little bit, you know, so that way there's not the bulk. But since this is very thin, it's not a chipboard or anything, and the material is pretty thin, I'm just going to fold up each corner, like so. Now, this is where we are going to get the Fabri-Tac out. With the Fabri-Tac, though, I always have next to me, and actually I shouldn't say always because sometimes I forget and then my hands get all gluey, but it's good to have a wet wipe or a baby wipe or, you know, a wet cloth or something handy, because you're going to get really messy. Well, I get really messy doing this part, especially on my fingers, and I want to wipe right away. So let us begin. I am going to take the corners here, as I said, and I'm going to glue them up. So what I usually do is I kind of just honestly just go like that. And I hope you can see what I'm doing here. Like this, just to keep it attached. We want it with a Fabri-Tac. And then I'll do this one here. And again, I just do like a little swirl. I kind of wipe it on, and then I just fold that up like so. And I repeat for the bottom, and I'm hoping that this is, that you are able to see what I'm doing. But basically I'm putting the glue down in the corner, rubbing it around with my finger, and you know, you can rub it onto the material if you want. And then I just fold it up like so. See, so let me just bring it closer to the camera. This is basically what I'm doing. I'm just making a little triangle in the corner. And let me just give it a quick wipe. But see, it dries so fast that you see my fingers already? It's very gluey. But that's all right. I have my wet wipe, and I try to stay on top of the glue, but sometimes when you're in the middle of working, it's a little, you just keep going, and at the end, all of a sudden you have all this glue build up on your fingers, and you're like, eek. Let's use that, and then fold this one up, and hopefully you can see me, like so. All right, so now we have all four corners, as you can see, folded in. Then what I do is I start on the bottom one, I'll fold the bottom one up, and then the top one. So, and I mean, doing this part is pretty self-explanatory. You're basically wanting to just make sure that you have glue everywhere, enough glue, I should say. And let me just rub that. I always like to spread it out with my finger because sometimes the glue shows through if it's too clumpy in one spot. Sometimes it will show through and you can get like glue spots. And it happens to me a lot. I always have to be very careful. And I always think that I'm wiping it enough, but sometimes I don't. For example, I don't know. You can see right here, the glue came through a little bit. This part, it's okay because we're actually covering it. But if I was doing like an outside cover, like on the chipboard covers, when I'm gluing the fabric to the chipboard, I have to be extra super careful on the outside because some of the thinner fabrics, it just bleeds right through. And even when it dries, sometimes it doesn't, you can still see it, you know what I mean? Like, it's still sort of noticeable, and that's what I don't want. So I try to spread it out as much as I can, and then hopefully that is enough to make sure it doesn't stick. But you know, like I said, not always, but you do your best. And I mean, it's not the end of the world if you were to get glue seepage on the front of a cover, because you can always, I mean, the nice thing about junk journals, you can always add a bit of lace, you can add, you know, some fabric, anything you want to cover it up. I've done that before. And sometimes it even comes out a little cuter with that extra little decoration. And I just cut off some of the longer strings that come through because I'm just kind of picky like that. You don't have to, but I like to. All right, now we're going to do the same thing. Oh my gosh, I have so much on my desk. It's ridiculous. Good thing the camera can't see up there or that way because you would just absolutely die. I have my water here. Okay, sip of water. Put it over here. Let's do this side. Let's see, it's all the way down now. I think I'm running low. Okay. So let's spread it out again. And again, just using my finger to and sometimes the material is a little longer on one side. You know, you can just add a little bit of glue there if you want, just to keep it all stuck down. So we got that there. And then we have just the other side to do. And I may go back and, oh, this wasn't even a string, but see some of the strings, like right here. I might just go back and trim it off, maybe. We'll see. Alrighty, so let's spread this out. Alright, so let me just put the cap on this. It gets a little smelly sometimes. I mean, see? Look at my fingers already, how gluey they are. Oh, gosh. It does get a little bit annoying. And it's like, and then at the moment you want to pick it off, but you're in the middle of a project, and then it's just, oh, gosh. Well, I got some of it off. Oh, now it's going on my project. All right, so the next thing I want to do, because I have a picture, I have to see, I'm going to determine whether I want to just use Fabri-Tac and attach it, or do I want to actually sew it. So let me just see. I don't know which one I think would be the front, though. Maybe that. So that's how I want it, like this. Now, do I want to sew it, or do I just want to glue it? Because, and I'll tell you why I'm kind of debating, because if you want to sew it, you sew it now before you put the back on. But I don't know if I want to sew it. I'm thinking just to glue it. Because right now I have brown thread in my machine, and that is just not going to go. Let's see, if I do, I think I might just want to glue it. What do you think? I think glue is just fine. Perhaps. You know what? I am going to pause the camera for 1 second, and I think I was going to decide, but you know what? I think I should have thought about this before I started the video. I think I am going to sew it. So I am going to pause right here just for a moment. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and as you can see, I did end up sewing it. I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but I used a red thread to kind of match with the background just a tad, you know? So you see how you want to do the sewing first before you put the back cover on, so that way you can hide the seam. Though I've done some books where I had the seam showing and I liked the way it looked. So that is the front cover. Now we're going to do the inside really quickly. And I've printed this out, and it's just obviously it's the background page for this. And this part is relatively easy. You're basically just going to glue this down. So, what I do usually, I line it up where I want to, and then I start with my Fabri-Tac here, you know, and I do all of it almost to the edge, because after I glue it down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew all the way around it. So let's see. Actually, you know what I was thinking? Well, let me line this up first, and I hope my big head doesn't get in the way, because I'm going to be sort of leaning around. Actually, maybe I don't need to lean around. That looks pretty even, actually. All right, so what I'm going to do, I wish I had a different type of glue, because I want it liquidy like a Fabri-Tac, but kind of like the tacky glue where it's a little, oh, you know what? I do. Where is my glue? I did have a glue. I forgot I bought one of my favorite glues. This one. All right, so I'm going to use this one instead. All right, now we still lined up. Oh, I just moved it. And that looks good. All right, so what I do usually is I'll start in the middle and, you know, just run the glue up and down. I'll do a little bit on the material. I don't have to do much on the material, only because, remember, I'm sewing it. And then, you know, let me just stop and spread the glue, because we want the glue spread out. Okay. See, I like a liquid glue that gives me a little leeway and doesn't dry so quickly. Like the tacky glue dries really quickly, which is good, but when I'm trying to do something like this, it's not so good, because I don't want it drying right away. I want to be able to spread it a little bit, and I want to be able to make sure I have the glue everywhere I want it to go. All right, and then just rub it down there. And let's just make sure again. And then I'm just turning it over to the other side. And now I'm going to do this side. So see, I mean, it's really straightforward. So what I'm going to do, so I'm not wasting so much time, I'm just going to pause it again and finish gluing this. All right, so as you can see, I finished gluing on that. And remember, I didn't go all completely, I didn't go completely to the edge with the glue, only because I'm going to sew it now. So basically what I'm going to do, I sew from the inside. So I have this in my sewing machine this way rather than this way. And I'll tell you why I do that, because I want to make sure the seam or the sewing seam, the stitches, whatever, line up along these edges. Because if I did it from the other side, I wouldn't know where it's getting. And I want to go completely around all the edges. You know what I mean? All the way around there. So once again, I do apologize. I'm going to just pause for a minute and go sew, and I'll be right back. All right, so I am back and I am finished basically with the cover. So I don't know if you can see, I'll try to hold it up. You can see it better on this side. See, I've used red thread and I've sewn all around the edges. And I do this because it basically is just an extra step of sealing everything together. So we have the glue to glue this down. We use the glue on the outside to glue the front down, and then we use the Fabri-Tac to glue, you know, the sides in, and then the final step basically sew all the way around, and it basically holds everything together. So now my cover, because the inside glue isn't completely dry, because I can sort of feel it still damp, I'm not going to fold it just yet. But let me just show you the cover. There it is. And I will attach my little red bow down there. And it's just going to be a nice, simple journal for Christmas. So that's how I do my stuff. I know everybody's a little bit different. This is how I like to do mine. So I hope that, you know, was interesting for anybody that watched it. And I do appreciate it if you did watch it. And I hope you come craft along with me another time. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.